Everywhere we go, we used to drive down Drift Road. Everywhere we go, we used to drive down Drift Road. Yeah. Everywhere we go, we used to drive down Drift Road. The same road, but I swear it never gets old. I see the street signs light up in the nighttime. I used to hit you on the celly at the right time.
Again, Maddie, we're playing nothing but hits on this pod, baby. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the third episode of the Julio and Ice podcast. I'm your always 100%, maybe 1,000% of the time, handsome host, Julio Vasquez. I'm here with my co-host and one of my best friends in the entire world, Maddie Medeiros. Maddie, talk to me nice or don't talk to me at all.
Well, I'm excited. Episode 3. We have a great interview with Troy Barnies. We actually interviewed him last week. He had some days off, so we wanted to get in there. He's got a pretty busy schedule playing overseas in Lithuania. So we have a great interview coming up. So definitely give that a listen. Great knowledge, spoken about the game, and great relationship that we made through basketball. So
yeah, it was just interesting to hear his point of view on how he got better. You know, he was one of those guys who didn't really, get the notoriety that he needed or expected as a young kid, but he worked, he put the work in. And he's a 10-year pro. So that says a lot, man. Yeah. That says a lot, man.
You can't knock that. So, it made me think about our beginnings and our, humbling beginnings with basketball. And I think when I think about, kids that I've coached or kids now that I'm coaching, and, everybody grows into their basketball bodies or, skill level at different times. And, you could be somebody that's not a really great basketball player in the 7th and 8th grade and continue to grow. And, I've always told kids, I fear the kids that are really, really good in 7th grade. Just because you hit a growth spurt or you're physically more dominant or skills I've seen over, time, peers of ours or whatever. I've seen kids who are really good in 8th grade and, by the time they're senior high school, they already plateaued. They're the same player. So, I actually, really don't know all your beginnings in basketball. So tell me a little about yourself. I know when you were junior and senior, you're playing on a really good high school team, but what was your upbringing in basketball in that sense?
Yeah, Maddie, it's kind of the same thing as you, bro. Just being able to be around good athletes all the time in Waterbury. Waterbury is just gifted with athletes and good basketball players. But like you said, you seen them kind of plateau early on. They were really good 7th and 8th graders, 9th graders even. But for me personally, Maddie, I always knew I was going to play in college. That was my thing. I didn't really care about where I went. I didn't care if it was Division 1, 2, or 3. I honestly just wanted to play in college. And I really take pride in that. I consider myself really self-made. I'm really self-made. I got cut 6th and 7th grade on my middle school team. Just because, in middle school, a lot of the times the coach keeps the 8th graders majority of the time.
We let's circle back on the cutting of middle school sports, but keep going.
Yeah. So I got cut 6th and 7th grade. Probably 100 kids in tryouts in 6th and 7th grade. And they were only taking 2 of each grade. And then the rest were 8th graders, regardless of how good they were. I made the team in 8th grade because some guys were academically ineligible. I was able to start and I played pretty well in 8th grade, won a city championship, which is pretty good around here because we didn't play in a parochial league. We played within the city. And, if you won a city championship, it was a big deal. But as I transitioned to high school at Crosby High, no one really knew my name still. It's a public school with a whole bunch of kids. Tryouts, you can't have, it's different because Westport, you're playing for the town, which again, I'm envious of, Maddie, because you're playing for a town. And in the city, Waterbury, we have Crosby, Wilby, Kennedy. Now you have 2 private schools in Holy Cross and Sacred Heart. The talent just gets spread out. It gets spread out. So I was kind of just a needle in a haystack at Crosby my freshman year. Made the freshman team. We had a really good freshman class. I thought it was good enough to play JV, but I didn't. So I played strictly freshman, playing with Anthony Ireland, Michael Manning, Stephen Dunbar. These are all guys I grew up with, Malik Gray. And then my sophomore year, I was on varsity, started JV. I found myself as a 6-man role eventually on the varsity. That kind of excelled as my junior year, going from my sophomore year to my junior year, it was more, I guess it was more of a, like we were talking about before, it was more of an opportunity where I can make more mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Like he trusted me more. My coach trusted me more. My junior year, we went 26-1. We won a state championship. We beat Trinity Catholic, which was kind of like our state rival. I don't know if you remember Craig Austrie. Craig Austrie went to UConn during that time with like AJ Price and, you know, that whole crew. He was from Trinity Catholic, and they had beaten Crosby a couple years prior, and we met them in the finals a couple of times. So it was a big win, and we won it at UConn. Actually, it was the first year that the state championship was hosted at UConn, and then my senior year, I started, obviously, I was co-captain, all city, all tournament team, you know, just throwing out my accolades out there. Don't want to be that guy who's living on the glory days, but that's what happened. We went back to the finals. I think we went 23-4. We beat the number one team in the state, Hill House. We beat Hartford Public. We beat Stanford. And then we lost to Windsor, who was a really good team out of Windsor, Connecticut, just freak athletes. But, you know, Maddie, I guess, you know, what I'm trying to say is, I'm gonna run on sentences, you know, I kind of just knew what I wanted to do, and I knew how to do it just my own way. I was always going to be evolved around basketball. I wanted to make sure I was around hoop all the time. So that junior to senior year, that jump, I went to every single hoop mountain camp. You know, I played in every pickup game in the city. I played in every rec league in the city. You know, I played for a solid AAU team, the Connecticut Kings, which was founded out of the YMCA in Waterbury. It was not the big, you know, Connecticut Select or like the Connecticut Elites. It was kind of just like, you know, city grown. And I went to some good tournaments, and I played well in front of the right people.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, if I were to sit here and tell you, Maddie, that I went into the gym and I did the cone drills and I had someone feeding me shots, then I'd be lying to you, man. I kind of just like, I made sure I was hooping all the time. You know, if I felt like I took a day off of hooping, I felt like somebody was obviously better than me or getting better than me.
Well, it's just cool to hear your journey, because it's not, everybody's journey is unique, and it's not like, I know that you and I come from, when I say humbling beginnings, it wasn't like we were, you know, the stud sixth grader that everybody was talking about, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool to hear that. Before I go off kind of on a little bit of my journey through that, the middle school basketball, I must say, like the fact that they cut kids, I've never experienced being cut. So, you know, I want to preference that. It's not like I'm, you know, acting like I have. But my opinion now, running a sports program, I just think it's stupid to cut kids that want to play basketball. Like, and I get you can't keep, I'm not the person to, everybody should make a team. No, it's not like that. But like, what was the avenue when you got cut for you to continue playing basketball? Was there an opportunity to play even though you were cut from your middle school team?
No way.
And
No way.
and that bothers me. Like at Pike, what I do, you know, I have 70 kids that try out for the boys basketball. Let's just say this, 70 kids. So we have two teams, a varsity and a JV. So 10 make varsity. I usually maybe keep 11, but 10 minimum. And JV keeps about 12. And then, you know, there's still all those other kids. What am I going to tell them? You can't play on a team. So we made like an intramural program where it's like learning and development, skill development. Because like, how are you going to tell me a kid in sixth grade, what, like you cut them and then maybe they never want to play basketball again because they got cut? So you want to give them an opportunity. They as a sixth grade, they could be a great eighth grade basketball player for you. You don't know how they're going to develop. So I just think it's really wrong. And at least the middle school level, to cut kids, I just think it's not right. Kids are still developing. Kids are still learning. You can't tell me a kid in seventh grade can't be a good basketball player in high school just because they didn't make their middle school team. Like, I just think that's a joke. So
I agree.
That's kind of my thing on that. But you know, I guess when I think about my journey in basketball, it was one, again, like when we get to the interview with Troy, you know, he talked about being a role player, and that's kind of who I was. Seventh, eighth grade, I was obviously a good basketball player, but I wasn't the best in the town. I definitely wasn't considered the best, but I was good. And then when I got a freshman in high school, like, you played at a bigger school, so you made the freshman team. At Westport, I was lucky enough to make varsity as a freshman. And again, I didn't play that much. I had a role, and I played maybe 10 minutes. I mean, I might have played 10 minutes in a game, might have played 15, might have played 2. I don't, you know what I'm saying? It was different by game. So it was adjusting to that in my role. And then I didn't start until I was a junior in high school. And I don't know if, many people really think about that, but I played a role coming off the bench. Even as a junior, I was on a really talented team. I think from my sophomore year to senior year, I think we were like 56-8, so we were really good. And to me, it was always about winning. Obviously, my senior year, I grew into a role. I worked on my game, and obviously I was the best, player on the team. And I had a different role. But then when you go to college, it was the same thing. I had to adjust. I was playing behind you. And, it wasn't, my mindset was like, obviously I want to get more playing time, but I also wanted to support you. Like, you were my teammate. So if you were playing, I was supporting you. If I was going in, I had to bring a different element to the game. And it's just tough for me now when I think of kids and how they are. It's like, if they don't get immediate gratification, it's like, well, I want to transfer. It's the coach's fault. Like, I've always been taught, like, you have to find your way and prove that you're worthy of playing on a team. And, you have to fit into your role. And then obviously you want your role to increase every year. But when I look at my high school and college career, that's kind of how I gauge it, is that when I was a freshman in high school to when I was a senior, I was a better player. When I was a freshman in college to when I was a senior, I was a better player. I never plateaued. I always got better, but I had different roles along the way. And I think you appreciate your teammates when you're finally the guy or like one of the starters getting minutes. You start to appreciate the guys who are the bench guys or the role players. Like, and if you don't have that appreciation, then you probably never played that role. So I think that was, when I think of my basketball career, I think that's one of the coolest part, is that I've played different roles along the way.
Yeah, and you fucking excel in those roles. Let's not sugarcoat anything. There were games when you were a freshman where you were playing 35 minutes, and you lit shit up, and you put the conference on notice. And then there were games where you went in there and you kind of were just like, I'm gonna get in where I fit in. I'm gonna shoot 6 shots and I'm gonna make 4 of them.
Yeah, there was a game my freshman year. I came in for you. We were playing Johnson and Wales, and Johnson and Wales at the time had Lamont Thomas, who was an absolute monster. One of the best players we played against in college. At least I did. And they were a really good team, but I knew my role was, we played with, guys like Zach O'Brien, Chris Petsy, guys who could score. And as a freshman, I was like, hey, I got to make my impact on defense, because they were tough to guard. And I remember that game, and I ended up playing only like 15, 20 minutes because I took 5 offensive charges in the game, and my elbow was the size of a balloon. But like, hey, that was my role in that game. Like, I had to, sacrifice my body for the team. Like, I wasn't going to score 20 points in the game and help my team win. And I always took pride in that, finding ways to win, contributing to a win. It's not really about, your personal stats. Like, and that's why, in the first episode, when you kind of listed the accolades, obviously when I look at accolades of players, it's great and all, like, right. Cause I think that shows you how much work you put in. But what I really like looking at is like, what our record was as a team and our success, and, that kind of stuff. That's what I love basketball. That's why I love it.
Yeah, Maddie, you hit it right on the head with the whole role piece too. And as the listeners keep listening, you're going to hear Troy say the same thing. You kind of got to establish the role. No, again, trickling backwards a little bit, my senior year of high school, I think I was averaging 11, 5 and 5 or 12, 5 and 5, but my role wasn't to score 25 points a game. My role was to set my guys up and get my other guys in transition, feed my bigs, let's hit the rim runner. Let's do the little things. And on that note, I knew I was going to be able to play college basketball, because I think at that age, I understood what college basketball was all about. That was being a star in your role, being the star in your role. And
Amen.
Coach Santacola, he pressed that into me as a freshman. I can't lie to you. I wanted to transfer after my freshman year because I was playing 15, 16 minutes. You know what I mean? I just
tough.
felt
it's
like
a tough adjustment.
It's hard. It's hard, man. But I stuck it through. He called me that summer. He was like, hey, listen, I need you to come back. I need you to play 28, 30 minutes for me. I need you to run my team. And I didn't fold. I didn't quit. Like you said, I didn't get any instant gratification. Never won an all conference bid. I never won a team award. I never, complained about it either. that's the thing. I never won any of those accolades, and I never complained about, because, like you said, I cared about winning. If you wanna call me, you know, a person who didn't succeed, the least you can do is call me a winner. I'm a winner. I won. I've won everywhere I went. Losing 12 games my freshman year, that was a lot to me. Losing was hard, man. I didn't care. I didn't give a fuck how many points I scored. I was diving on the ground, making the hockey assist. I was hitting the glass. I led our team in rebound in my senior year. You know, it was like I did everything I could to win. I wanted to win, and you know, I guess that's the moral of the pod. Maybe we can title it that. It's about winning. It's always about.
That's at the end of the day. That's why we play the game, and I think we live in a world where, you know, people love to talk about stats and, you know, how many points this guy scored and all that kind of stuff. But like you said, at the end of the day, it's all about winning and like you said, being a star in your role. But, you know, I could easily say, like, all right, you know, you could look at your stats in college and someone like, oh, that's the guy you always rave about. I don't think I'd pick someone over you to play point guard, because I just, when you look past the nerd kind of stats and all that, it's really about like knowing how you play in your role and knowing the things you can do on the court. Even if you didn't really like you've always said, like, you could score the basketball, you just didn't have to do that in scenarios. You know, we play with a guy, and I've always talked about him since I was in college, James Philbrook, right? As an actual basketball skilled player, right? He wasn't the highest, you know, you would look at him and be like, you know, how's this guy in a college team? What James' basketball IQ and what he was willing to do for the team is just, no one, and I've always said this, no one really wants to be that guy, right? No one, like, it's not like a sexy role, right, on the basketball team, but like guys who can star in that role, make a team successful. Like, he held everything together. So, you know, I really appreciate those roles, and kids out there, you know, listeners out there who are, you know, still currently playing basketball. Like, that's my biggest thing to you guys, is that whatever, if you make a team, whatever role that you got to accept it. And like, and who has said, like, you got to star in it.
You got to star in it, baby. You got to star in it. Hey, I just wanted to throw those stats out there. And I know you talk about analytics nerd. I'm not an analytics nerd, but this is the way I look at it here, okay? Since I'm a winner, I looked at it like this. And again, shout out to Coach Santacola, because Santacola put me onto this. Well, I played at St. Joe's for 4 years, right? I played with Ray Eatman, 1,000-point scorer. Zach O'Brien, 1,000-point scorer. Tyler Kelly, 1,000-point scorer. Chris Petsy, 1,000-point scorer. Nick Jobin, 1,000-point scorer. Steve Simons, 1,000-point scorer. And of course, the infamous Matt Medeiros, 1,000-point scorers. Why do I need to shoot the fucking rock? I don't need to shoot the rock. Get open and shoot the shit. If you don't shoot it, it's a problem. I don't need to score, baby. I'll break my man down and find my guys on the perimeter. That's what I do. And I take pride in that. Pride in that.
And to be honest, like, you know, there's not many players that I've played with that are as crafty as you, great defender as you. Like, you know, it's just, it's sad, because I've seen many examples of kids going to a place, and like you said, and there's nothing wrong with it. You admit that, like, hey, you wanted to transfer to your freshman year, and there's but you didn't. And that's the key thing. There's a lot of people that do transfer and they go to another situation. They don't like it there. Then they transfer again. It's like, well, what are you doing at that point? You know, I think if you're in a situation where you have a good coach, you respect your coach, you just have to believe. You have to believe that things are going to work out. Put in the hard work, put your head down, work hard, and good things will happen. Right. I think it's easy to say, like, you know, and what I liked about Santacola is he always said, like, hey, you know, I can't guarantee you anything. You're going to have to work for it. And that made me want to go there. And I had to work for stuff. It's not like I just got handed, you know, my freshman year and I was going to be a 1,000-point scorer. If you would have asked me as a freshman, hey, Matt, are you going to score 1,000 points? You know what I would have said to you? One, I would have said no. And two, I don't really care. Like, it's not why I'm here, to be 1,000-point scorer. I think that notion of it is just kind of dumb. Like, you know, and it's like, you know, I remember getting interviewed in high school after I scored 1,000, like the questions, I was just like, oh, you know, it's like, you know, some kid's obsession. Like, it's not an obsession to me. Like, I want to win a state championship, because at the end of the day, when you go home, and I've told kids at North Andover this, when we were on that really good run, 2018 or 17, when we, you know, won the Division II North sectional, it's like, you're going to get remembered for being on a great team, a team that wins. Right. No one really remembers, oh, he was a 1,000-point scorer. Well, you could be a 1,000-point scorer on a team that sucks. It's like, is that really impressive? No.
About winning.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's about
And
winning, man.
and when you're done playing basketball, I think the best thing that someone could say about you is that you were a good teammate and they love playing with you. And all the guys that I play with, I'm pretty sure I would bet money that they would say that I was a good teammate and they love playing with me. And at the end of the day, that means more to me than any stat or whatever.
And those relationships are going to last forever, man. You're going to be remembered as a great teammate, as a great human being, brother.
And that's all you can ask for.
And with that being said, man, we're gonna get into this interview with Troy. Thank you to the listeners out there. Hopefully, there's some sponsors out there who kind of see this as a good message to the youth, and they reach out to us. So if you have any questions, make a comment below.
You can reach us, if you want to email us anything, Julio and Ice pod@gmail.com. And
That's right.
Here's the interview with Troy Barnies.
So I'm obviously here with my handsome, I'm going to call you handsome, Maddie, my handsome host, Maddie Medeiros, and our second guest, officially our second guest, Troy Barnies from Maine. Troy, how we doing, buddy?
What's going on, guys?
Hanging in, man, hanging in, trying to do this podcast thing. We're really trying to get guys who are kind of not flying, but kind of under the radar as far as talent. And, you were one of the first guys we thought about. So we'll jump right into it, man. Obviously you're from Maine, man. You went to Edward Little. Just kind of talk a little bit about how that Maine basketball scene was when you were in high school.
Maine basketball was a pretty big deal back then. Like, I don't know, like I didn't really play basketball growing up, like at all. And I was always a football player as a kid. And then I got pretty tall, like pretty quick. Growth spurt happened when I was in like 7th grade, 8th grade. So I started dabbling around with basketball a little bit on like, outdoor courts and stuff. And then I picked it up pretty fast. And then, it's led to me being where I'm at now. But basketball in Maine obviously has a lot of work to do. It's behind times compared to the rest of the country, talent wise and other things. But I think they're on the right path, like Maine basketball wise. I mean, when I was in high school, the talent was phenomenal, but a lot of guys that were the most talented in the state were not from Maine. You know what I mean? They were born from somewhere else, like a Ralph Mims, born from Florida, and he comes to Maine because his dad was in the Army or whatever the case. So he was staying there. He went to Brunswick High School for a while, and then he was one of the best players, Mr. Basketball and such then. So more Maine-bred guys like me, I want to see more of it happening. But obviously you got to put the time in. But I'd say Maine's basketball is on the right track, I think.
So Troy, let me go off, because I kind of know your story, but just for the listeners to hear it. And I think kids out there today, it's like, what I appreciate about you the most is that like, it wasn't like you were a 6th grade phenomenon or a 7th grade, you weren't always great at basketball. So, I mean, what was the process of you going from like a freshman, sophomore, and then all of a sudden as a junior, you're averaging 26.5 points, 11 rebounds. Then your senior year, 23.5, 13 rebounds. You named 2007 Mr. Maine Basketball and Gatorade Player of the Year. So like, kind of talk about like what process you went through from as like a freshman, sophomore who wasn't good at basketball to that.
So I think for me, there's so many different examples and everyone's completely different. Like, how did you get better? Like, what was the difference? Like, I honestly think about it all the time. And I think as the years went by, I surrounded myself more with basketball. So like, say when I started playing like organized basketball in 7th grade, 7th, I was very like clueless. I didn't know what was going on. I was kind of figuring it out. Also figuring my body out because, I was starting to mature, puberty and such. And so like in middle school, I was basically just kind of dabbling with basketball and see how it was. And the thing was, I actually fell in love with it pretty quick, like the game, just watching it and being around it and whatever the case. And that grew phenomenally when I started figuring it out more and getting better. So I surrounded myself more with basketball. So 7th and 8th grade, I'd be playing like, by myself or pickup or whatever on outdoor courts. And then obviously like the middle school team. And then 9th grade, I was like, hey, well, now I kind of see like, I'm watching all these people like videos and all this such and people talking and they're saying like, if you want to be good, you have to like do it all. You have to surround yourself with the game. So in like 9th, 10th grade, I started putting myself in situations where basketball was the only thing in my life, basically. So I would go play pickup. I would join AAU team. Well, not AAU teams, but I would play. I would any basketball situation, any games, any workouts, anything given or available for me at the time, I would take advantage of. And I do a lot by myself, like a lot by myself. I used to watch like N1 mixtapes, just because I knew I was going to be the tall dude, the tall, skinny kid. And I wanted to at least be able to have some handles and a shot. And I didn't want to be just a stick in the post. So I wanted to kind of develop my game where I had a little bit of everything. And then I kind of took that off from there growing up. Obviously, my body developed. I worked on my strength a lot. I started lifting a little bit more in high school, and it all kind of came together.
It's funny. We did, obviously, Maddie can agree with me here. We went to college in Maine. So we went to St. Joe's, obviously. And, you know, we didn't know anything about Maine hoops. And to be honest, I was a little naive. So I kind of just said, you know, who the fuck is this guy, you know, from Maine? And you were kind of like, you were like white Jesus to like some of our teammates. Like James Philbrook spoke highly of you, like Zach Blodgett. Those guys really spoke highly of you because I guess you were like one of the first guys to be able to kind of, you know, stretch it, put it on the deck. You're extremely versatile. And I experienced that when we kind of went to the Noonan Nation tournament up in Bangor. And then, you know, me and Maddie are kind of just walking in the gym, and you just, I don't know, I think you caught a lob or something, or you just caught like a two-handed dunk, and you're just hanging on the rim. So I'm just like, okay, there's a guy here. There's some hoopers in here. And, you know, obviously as you get older, you kind of, you know, me personally, I pay more homage to those guys. And like Maddie was saying, I really respect like your grind and the way you kind of just became who you are. You're kind of self-made. You know, tickling around that subject, Troy, like what was your recruitment like, you know, towards the end of your high school year? You were the McDonald's Player of the Year in Maine, right? So did your recruitment pick up after that?
Yeah, like I won basically all the individual awards you could imagine, like in basketball in Maine, like at the top level, like Class A at the time. It's AA now, but like the biggest schools, the highest level. I wouldn't say highest level. Class C teams could beat Class A in Maine. I don't know if the listeners or you guys know how it is now, but I won all the awards basically, but like being from Maine, like you could be, you know, you could average 40 points a game, but like when you're getting recruited from colleges outside the state, like they can look at that and be like, okay, he's killing in Maine, but what's Maine? Maine basketball? Are you serious? You know what I mean?
Right.
But like you have to kind of distance yourself from that and try to put yourself in the spotlight where you're different. Like your mentality is different, your body's different, the way you look at the game is different. So I think the way I grew up and realizing that, you know, it's truly a grind sport. You have to grind hard for it. I think I got seen a lot because of that. But the thing was, I got offered my scholarship at Maine because, I mean, I was the best player in the state. And obviously Maine wanted to keep me in the state. And I obviously, if people know me, like I speak highly of Maine. I'm Maine everything. So like when I got offered the scholarship my junior year, I was at AAU tournaments and stuff, and the UMaine coaches, the assistant staff and everything were following me, and they were talking to my parents, and they're like, yo, we want you. Like simple as that. We're going to offer you right now. And it didn't take me long to say yes, because I was all about staying in the state and like representing the state. You know what I mean? So as offers come, like I didn't really see many offers. I heard a lot of chirping and interest, but like that's one thing I don't want to say I regret, because I'm at where I'm at now. I have a 10-year pro career. Like it's worked for me. I got lucky. I got my thing. But like I like to look back and think like, shit, if I didn't take that scholarship immediately and waited till what, mid senior year, maybe even after my senior year to see what happened, I would have been super curious to see like what opportunities I would have had outside of, you know, America East, UMaine. But like I said, it's worked out for me. I don't regret it at all. UMaine was absolutely the best spot for me. As you guys may know, there's tons of guys that were recruited from big schools from Maine. They went, didn't work out, and they ended up coming right back, or even going somewhere else, maybe Division II or Division III. Like it's all about fit. Like you could think you're the shit and you could think you're the best player, and you go to this and then you're playing against all these dudes that are just beast and men amongst boys, and it's a whole different show. And especially when you're away from home, that could also turn your mentality the opposite way. So there's a lot of different ways and different things that can affect that. But like for me, I would say UMaine was the best for sure, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them for going there. So recruitment wise, I wish I would have seen a little bit more, but it worked out for me in the end.
Why do you think, just kind of going off that UMaine point, I've always been curious of why can't UMaine get the best talent? Because there are really good, like, you know, being up in Maine, like Julio said, going to college, like there's so many good, and hosting the Noonan tournament, there are so many good Maine basketball players. Why can't UMaine retain those guys? Like, why aren't they getting the best?
Or no, I
Because
think
of the location?
Yeah. I honestly think that's the case. Why do you like put this in perspective? Like, and this is just my opinion. I'm not saying this as a fact by any means. It could be completely different. But I would say the location is the most important part.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the last recruiting years, the last 10 years or whatever, after I left, even when I was there, they're getting a lot of European international players. A lot.
Yeah.
Like talented European international players.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason why is because they're having a hard time pulling in guys that, you know, want to come and stay in Maine. You know what I mean? Like stay in Orono. It's a ghost town. It's like if school isn't in session, there's zero things to do. You have to drive 2 hours to go to Portland, you know, the biggest city in Maine, to actually, you know, experience some fun things and stuff. I mean, obviously go around and figure some things out, but it's a different college experience if you don't make friends and become immersed into the culture, into the, you know, into the school campus situation, you know?
Yeah.
So if people ask me all the time, they're like, why are these guys leaving? What is this? What's that? Well, there's many different reasons. You know, some guys just think that they're maybe even better than there,
Mm-hmm.
or it's they're not getting playing time. They want to find somewhere else. Like there's so many different, you know, reasons. But I think one of the main reasons in the back of their heads, and obviously college kids won't answer this in interviews and stuff after transferring or whatever, but I would say it's the location for sure. Like, you know, even I was like, my hometown is an hour and a half away from there. It's not far at all by any means. But like, if you get guys from New York coming from Massachusetts and even across the country, like that's tough. I can imagine it's tough.
It's a culture shock, right? Like who you could say it, right? Coming from Connecticut up to Maine, same with me. It's different. I mean,
yeah, like you cross the border from New Hampshire to Maine. You still got like 2 hours just to get to Portland. And then after you hit Portland, it's another hour and a half, 2 hours just to get to Bangor. And then you get to Orono. So it's a ride and it's a commitment. So like, I think the guys that realize that it's not for them, they try to find a better situation and maybe try to enjoy college a little bit differently. But then there's some guys that don't mind it and, you know, stick it through and enjoy and embrace the you know, the school itself. So it just depends.
Now you played 4 years at UMaine, obviously scholarship player. What do you think? Like if you had like top three, what are like top three moments? Now I know personally, you've told me the story about you guys playing number 5 Oklahoma and Blake Griffin dunking all over you guys. So was it on you or near you?
Yeah, it's a funny story. I did a podcast like I'll break down the story. My junior or sophomore year, it was either I think it was
junior year.
Junior year, right? Junior year, we in our non-conference schedule in the beginning of the season, we got matched up with Oklahoma, which had Blake Griffin as a senior at the time, and they were number 5 at the time. They were nasty. They beat everyone by a lot, and we got matched up with them. And you know, Taylor Griffin, his brother, was on the squad, and other guys. They were just all NBA talent, ready to go there. And we played against them on ESPN. Their game, obviously, because they knew, hey, Oklahoma's playing Maine. Let's put it on ESPN real quick. We're gonna get an all-star game type situation.
Yeah.
For at least on their side. And he had 3 dunks on the top 10 on ESPN against us. And I remember waking up in the morning, we having breakfast on our way back from Maine. Back from Oklahoma, and we were eating breakfast, and the TVs were all in the hotel lobby or restaurant, and there we were watching ESPN, and we're like, oh shit, number 10, that's us. You just got dunked. Oh, number 7, yo, that was me. Number 1 was my other buddy Sean, and they were all dunks by Blake, all 3 of them. Anyway, so that happened. And then my buddy, like years later, I did a podcast, like even last year, I did a different podcast, and someone asked me about it. And they're like, did you get dunked on? And I'm like, I did, but like I was kind of on the side of him, and the body, it was just like, there. It was. And then one of my boys from college was like, yo, I have the video if you want to watch it. The F, you know what I mean? Where did you find this? So he found it on YouTube. It's crazy. He sent it to me, and I was like, all right, I got to watch this. Number 7, we were playing 2-3 zone. Don't ask why. I don't know.
You gotta change it up.
Yeah, I mean, we had no other choice to, but I was on the bottom right wing, and Blake was playing the short corner, kind of short corner to short corner, which was his thing. And he got the ball off a bounce pass from the middle, and he was behind me, and I turned, and I was like, oh shit. And then I was like, what's worst thing that's gonna happen? I'm gonna get dunked on. What's the best thing that could happen? I just blocked Blake Griffin on ESPN. Everyone could suck my dick. So like I took the hit, and I went to go block it. I didn't get it, but I think I don't regret that at all. It would have been nice. Like it would have been a highlight of my life if I would have got it.
Yeah, Troy, man, I like your candidness, man. Really, like that's what this pod's gonna be about. Just being open about that stuff, man. I wanted to honestly go back about how you were talking about the Maine culture and kind of just being a part of Maine in itself. I mean, I personally, I came accustomed to that, man. For me personally, I just enjoyed the fact that Maine was so calm. You know what I mean? It was that vibe where, like you said, if you didn't have a couple of people with you, if you didn't make those connections, it was kind of like you were going to be stranded. But I really love how you just embrace the fact that Maine is yours, man. I follow you on Twitter, obviously, and I follow what you do. You put a basketball court in your hometown, I'm assuming.
Yep.
And I'm a big fan of the fact that you kind of just, you're homegrown and you do that stuff for your state, man. So kudos to you on that.
Appreciate it.
Did you feel like a sense of pressure during the time that you were at Maine to kind of make it out, to kind of be a pro like you are now? Me and Maddie were talking about this before you got on, was when we played with you in the Noonan Nation tournament, there was sort of a, I don't know, like I feel like there was like an animosity towards you. Like people were kind of going for your head. And at the same time, me and Maddie are kind of looking around like this motherfucker made it. Like this guy is one of your own, man. Like you got to kind of pay homage, and you kind of got to show him some love. And, part of it was a competitive sense, but also was kind of like a, fuck this guy type of thing. Did you
Right.
feel that? Did you feel that, like, being a part of, Maine and you Maine and stuff?
I feel that all the time. That's literally actually a reason why I don't play much men's leagues when I'm home anymore. Like every time in games, these guys feel like they have a chip on their shoulder against me and want to prove something. And like me on the other end, I just want to get runs in, play, work on little things here and there. Obviously I got to do my thing, but like, I don't need guys like playing like super hard on me just because of who I am in the state, and it's annoying sometimes because like, I'll even yell at dudes, like dudes cutting me off, like when I go up or whatever, trying to take me out. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And I'm getting older too. I'm 32 now. So it's not like I can get away with a lot of those things that I used to, but like, even at those tournaments, like at the Noonan tournament as well, like I'll get guys that definitely, want a piece of me for sure. And honestly, I don't blame them. Like we got a pro hooper from Maine, like let me get after him. Let me prove something. Let me show people what I can do compared to what he has done, and I'm totally cool with that. Grind, fight against me. I don't take it personally when we're in between the lines by any means. That's the game. But like, I get it. Like you said, like verbatim what you said, like it happens to me quite a bit. Like I said, I don't mind, but then again, it bothers me a little bit sometimes. And I'm not like bitching out or by any means, but like people need to understand it's like a different kind of respect when you're going at a guy compared to you're focusing a guy,
Yeah. I think there's a fine line because like I think Julio and I were talking. There was one year it was when it was still up in Bangor. This random dude just started chirping, and me and him laughed because like what the guy was saying was so ridiculous. because he was like, oh, I could have been an overseas player too, kind of stuff like that. But I think with the fine line is like, if I'm competing against you, like the plenty of times we did at hoop camp and stuff, it's like, I wanted to beat you, but at the end of the day, it's all out of respect. Like I don't have like I don't look at you, and I feel like some guys do this, and they're like, well, I could have been better than him or whatever. He just got in a lucky situation. Where I look at it as like, I'm just competing against you, but at the end of the day, I don't think a lot of guys understand like the amount of respect that we have for you in the sense of like how hard you work like on your craft. It's not like you're just like some dude that doesn't care and you're out doing whatever. Like you grind and you put in the work. So it's, I mean, again, like you said, there's a fine line between.
And the worst thing about it is like coming from myself in my brain, and I won't say this out loud much, but like say I'm getting like, targeted or whatever, and I'm getting like chirped at or whatever the case, like these guys are saying like, yo, you get this pro, or say I have like a bad game or something. They're like, yo, this guy's a pro. What an ass.
Yeah.
Like it's so hard not to take it personally. I know that's part of the game, shit talking and all that case. Like some dudes need to shit talk to be good at the game. They need that to, keep the energy going for themselves. I don't know, whatever the case may be. But like for me, they just like in the back of my head, they don't realize like, yo, I could be a pro. I could do this. I can do that. I mean, everyone has a chance, but no, you can't. You don't understand how much time of my life I have put on the court that no one has seen, that no one's seen, only for myself. And that's how you got to do it. You got to do it for yourself. Like the workouts, the individual workouts, the lifting, the sprints on the tracks, all that stuff that people don't see. You know what I mean? Like you can't do that. Like you may think that you can make a 3-pointer every once in a while and make 20 points in a men's league or whatever. But like, you don't understand this is a lifestyle. This is full-time job. This isn't a every Sunday night with 40-year-olds kind of game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
So it's different.
That's a good way to go and lead into the next topic. Finishing your years at UMaine, and you're heading into your pro career. Did you know after your senior year that you would be able to have an opportunity to play overseas?
Yeah. I started getting a feeling halfway into my senior year that like I would be able to continue playing. So like I'll break this down real quick. If people don't really know about my college career, it was very, very, very different compared to a lot of guys that play overseas. You got guys coming in with big programs like Michigan, Maryland, Duke, and all this stuff, and they become freshmen and they become role players or guys that help the program immediately. For me, I was a role player. Freshman year, didn't play. I mean, I played a little bit. I had a couple starting games, but like I understand my role and I needed to learn. Sophomore year, didn't really change, was about the same thing. Junior year, about the same thing, but now I was just an upperclassman. Like I was a junior, I was upperclassman. I've been around the block. I was the kind of glue of the team. And then but I didn't score much. I think I had like 6 points a game, maybe even 5 points a game my junior year. Before that was 3, but after that was my freshman year was 2 or 3 points. I don't know, remember, but I didn't do much. Like I wasn't spectacular by any means. But my senior year, I said, it's time. Like, it's my time. I should have waited mentally. It was more of a mental thing than anything because I was always like athletic, always had my game. But like mentally, I was like, you know what, this is it. Like, see, last year, I need to like prove that like I deserve that scholarship that someone else could have gotten, or someone else may have put more time in than me, which I doubt. But just saying, like, trying to help myself, So like I got to that right mental standpoint where I was ready to be the man and just say, screw it. I'm not afraid to make mistakes. I'm going to learn from my coaches and the staff. I'm going to put my foot forward and lead this team as a captain, as an upperclassman, and try to build this team together in my final year so I can get something more out of it than I did the previous 3 years. Okay. So when I got that mindset, it worked out for me and I killed. I played phenomenal games against some of the best schools in our non-conference schedule. In the America East Conference schedule, I killed. I was a 4-man. I was a post player in college, 6'7" postman. But because of how strong I got from lifting and all the post moves and everything that I worked on, it just made me feel so comfortable that I could do things that other guys, couldn't, or at least think of doing. So it worked out. Senior year, I was killing. I was in the running for Player of the Year. John Holland ended up winning it from Boston University. Ended up playing with LeBron James and winning a chip with the Cavs at the time. Wow. He didn't play, but he was on the squad. And then he played D-League, and now he's been overseas ever since with me in top teams as well. So just giving you kind of the talent-wise what I was playing with at the time. But, like, for me, it was about halfway into my senior year, I was like, you know what? Like, no one's going to stop me right now. And then by the end of my senior year, I had agents flooding to me being like, yo, your talent can transfer over to overseas in a second. We want you. Here's what we're going to have. We have our connections to, blah, blah, blah. And then my assistant coaches at UMaine kind of guided me into my agency that I had for the first 7 years. And it worked out that way, basically.
I guess I have two like quick questions. I don't want to go totally off topic, but it just made me think of this. One is like the way you just described it. And I think a lot of kids that I've seen, even like, you know, players that I was around, you know, during, you know, college, you just described it like you were a role player for 3 years. I think a lot of players come in as freshmen and they think like, hey, if I'm not starting, I'm transferring. So what's your advice to like kids like who don't, you know, start off right where they want to be? And like, what's that mindset you have to have, even if you end up being a role player?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's great. It's tough because you never know. Like, honestly, I think that I got lucky in some way. Like, I always was good enough to do what I did just my senior year, but I just didn't. I don't know why. Mentally, it was just like, I don't know. I just wasn't ready. I didn't figure it out. You know, by the senior year, I did. With other kids, like, it could be completely different. Like, I don't know, playing time, position changes, maybe not a right fit. You don't like it there. Like, there's so many different reasons. I don't know what would be a good way to explain to some kids that, you know, stick it out. Like, it's going to work out for you. Because, like, I stuck it out and it worked out for me. Mm-hmm. But, like, someone else could stick it out for 4 years and get absolutely nothing out of it. Well, you know what I mean by nothing out of it. Obviously, free education, play Division I basketball. Like, that's obviously a phenomenal opportunity. But you know what I mean when I say that. Like, there's no specific point. Like, I honestly don't know. That's why I say it's a great question, because like you could debate this all day long and you never know.
Well, I just think it's a weird thing, because if you think about it from your standpoint and like, you know, my standpoint, just for a sense, like you come as like a top player from your high school team and you're thrown into a situation where you're not the top dog anymore. And I think in some situations, kids don't know how to handle that, you know?
Yeah. All right. And I'll use this guy, you know him, as a perfect example, as some of the listeners will probably understand this. Ryan Martin.
Yep.
I love to use him as an example because that's the one guy that I battled with of being like the hardest worker I've ever seen in my life, on the basketball court at least.
Oh yeah.
He ended up walking on at UMaine for a year. He was with me at the time. He was younger than me, 2 or 3 years, I think. But like, he never saw the time. It was just like, I think he realized that level is different despite scoring 40, 50 points a game in Maine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, he walked on. They were promising, opportunity and maybe getting a scholarship, but it never worked out. So he's like, you know what? Like, I can't do this. I'm wasting my years. Like, I can't. So I'm going to transfer out and try to find the right fit and go to a different school. And then he ended up playing at Keene State.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. And he killed. He was like player of the year. He was doing his thing. He was comfortable. He got to play his own game and at the level that actually was really good for him. So he was the opposite side of the spectrum of people like saying, you know what? It's probably not the right fit. I'm going to find somewhere else to go. He finds somewhere else to go, the right fit, and it worked out for him.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I guess my other quick question before Julio, you go, what could you, like, you don't have to go in a long-winded answer to this, but like, what's the real difference between, like, what did you see from going from high school to college, like the difference in level of play, and then college to where you are now in the overseas pros?
All right. Without going like talking forever, because I can talk forever.
I love it.
high school to college, physicality, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I would not have been able to do what I did at Maine and hold my own for 4 years and, get better and actually do what I did without being physically strong enough to box dudes out, to bang with dudes, to play defense on quick dudes, footwork, all this stuff. There's no way I would have been able to hold my own. So physicality, 100%. That's why I always contest to saying that people that, high school, if you want to play college basketball and do something special, you got to start lifting and try to, build your explosiveness and power and strength, because it's going to help you phenomenally. So high school to college, I would say physicality. From college to the pros, there's not much difference when it comes to physicality, but I would say mentality is the biggest thing. How smart are you? What's your basketball IQ? Because in Europe, the games play differently than the NBA. The court is smaller. The 3-point line isn't as deep as the NBA's. Like, there's a lot of different things. It's a lot more team oriented. You need to understand the plays. You need to, know when to slip screens, when to, backdoor cuts, all these little things that you need to, perform in Europe. So basketball IQ is the biggest thing. So it took me a couple of years overseas to start, learning more and more and more. I knew quite a bit because my staff at UMaine were phenomenal. They actually helped me a lot with, learning the game as best as possible. Mm-hmm. But overseas, playing all these different countries with all these different coaches, you learn so much more different ways to play the game. And it helped me grow quite a bit. So I would say mentality, basketball IQ, is huge. The difference from college to overseas.
Well, you can really see that with just Luka's game in the league, man. He's 21, 22 years old, and he's making the game look so easy because he's been a pro for already 6 years, man.
He played on the best team in Europe, the absolute in the best league in Europe, and that's EuroLeague, and in EuroLeague, there's 12 teams or 15. I'm not sure exactly how many teams now because they always change it up, but you take half of those teams and they could beat more than half of the NBA teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard of stories like that.
Yeah, you don't, the opportunity that hasn't presented itself where that's a normal thing. So guys, and obviously, you can't just turn ESPN on or Sports Center and see all European games on TV all the time. So you don't see it. But I love watching European basketball, obviously playing, but watching it way more than I do the NBA. The NBA is a mess to me.
I guess, for the listeners, if you don't know, Troy's played for 10 years now overseas. He's played in different countries like Turkey, Finland, Latvia, Hungary, Lithuania, and you're currently in Lithuania. Can you tell, all right, what's some, obviously pros of being overseas? What are some cons of being in, the struggles that you have overseas?
Okay. Pros that I would say, the advantages is obviously every month I get paid to play the game of basketball. When you get overseas and when you get your salary, when you get those checks, man, it's it's a different feeling, dude. It's different. It's my mom is working 9 to 5s. My dad used to work, early in the morning, 12, 15-hour shifts. And they get paychecks every 2 weeks and stuff. For me, my craft and what I've worked on, I actually get paid for it. And it kind of feels like it was all worth it. Mm-hmm. So number one pro is obviously, doing it for a living. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I would say I get to learn different things. I get to learn different cultures and see different things in the world. I've been to Russia. I've been to Finland, as you said. I've been Latvia. We travel all over for games. I've been all over Europe playing, and I've seen so many cities and so many different countries and how they work things, how things are run in each culture, and it's amazing. And it's made me open my eyes with a lot of different things that whether, America is doing right or doing wrong. And I wish, they would figure it out. But that's another pro that I would say. For that, obviously, I get to wake up and play basketball every single day. So that's the number one for sure. I'm getting older and I can't do this forever, but I get to play basketball every day still. You know what I mean? My college career wasn't the end of it. So I've been very fortunate for that. So that's a big pro for me, obviously. Disadvantages and cons. being away from family and friends.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You make these Zoom / Skype / FaceTime text calls a normalcy for you, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You call, talk to people and try to kill your time and just, try to keep your relationships with either family or friends, that like I've been doing this for so long. I've been doing it for a decade now. And like, have I lost a lot of friends in the process? Yeah, not by like bad terms, but only because of like the communication issue that we have, I'm 7 hours ahead right now. I've been 8 hours ahead. I've been 9 hours ahead. I've been 6 hours. Like, it's just, people never know where I am because it's always maybe somewhere different every year. So it's like hard to keep relationships, but like, I think it's helped me. A pro of the con is the fact that like it's helped, keep the true friends and the true family members around in my life with, the being away for so long. So that would be a con. I think another con would be and people don't talk about this much, is being a professional athlete, the pressure on your shoulders is astronomical. Like they signed a contract with you. They picked you out of all these players to help their team perform and win and do what the club or organization needs and wants as goals,
Mm-hmm.
So they bring you in and they expect you to perform. Like, you got to perform. Like, that's what we do. That we're not there to just, just try to win games and play picket. Like, it's not like that. It's a job. So the con about it, it's a pro and a con, but more of a con. The pro part of it is like the pressure. It makes you feel like you're wanted and needed and you want to perform at a high level. And when you do, it's a pro. But when it's a con, I'm saying it's as a con because the pressure is literally always on your shoulders. Like, you have to help the team. Because if you don't, they will find someone else that will.
Yeah.
It's so my buddy Anthony Ireland, he's been in overseas for about 8 or 9 years, and he would always tell me just how cutthroat, the management over there with each club in Europe is. And, I guess my question to you, Troy, is, in your first couple of years, did each club give you a different specific role each year? I know some guys, like Anthony used to tell me all the time, well, they would tell him, you have to take 15 shots and we're expecting you to make 9 of them every night. And we expect you to kind of, run the show every night, or we expect you to kind of dish out 5 to 6 times. And, they kind of keep tabs on those things all the time. And, it could take a toll on you. It can take a toll on your mentality. So I'm assuming, being a senior from Maine and going into that environment, it had to be a lot of pressure, right? You only could take 10 shots. You got to make 6 of them. I mean, you got to be a gym rat, but also, it has to take a toll on you, right?
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. Like, and like you said, each club and each team that you go on to, obviously they have goals for the team, but also what they expect from you and what you need. Like, there's teams like right now, I'm a role player. I help the team, I come in off the bench. I help the team do dirty work. I have to play defense. I have to be in the right spots at the right time, take open shots when I get them. I'm more of an outside guy overseas. So like, my role isn't heavy here, like where I'm at right now, but I've been on teams where I'm expected to play 30, 35 minutes out of 40, the 40-minute games in 30, 35 minutes. You got to score at least double digits every game. You got to get at least 6, 7 rebounds, and your team has to win. That's the number one thing. You could not score anything. You can do like, you just play defense the whole time. But if your team's winning, then it's working out with the whole team. It's not just about you. It's about them. It's about the team.
Absolutely.
So like, but in the end, you obviously have to worry about yourself. Like, you want to get a better job, a better contract the following year. So you obviously want to perform. But the thing is, there's a middle ground with that. You have to find the balance. You have to get yours and do you, but also make sure the team wins.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing everything possible in your power to help the team in any way they need. You don't want to be a guy that they have 3 guys on the team that are the scorers and the main guys, and they do theirs. And then you come in and try to take 20 shots in a game and just ruin everything. They're going to find someone else that's not that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a balance with every team. There's different goals and all this different situation. You just kind of have to find your role in the team, whether it's the main guy or, the opposite end of the spectrum.
Troy, we again, we really appreciate you coming on. We respect your time. So we just like one or two more questions, and Julio's got something to wrap it up. But
Sure.
so like I've met you through hoop camp, and I think Julio's been up there too. Were you up there, Julio, when he was up there, or no?
No, I was, unfortunately.
But for me, like that's how I got to know Troy, and just watching him around hoop camp. If anybody doesn't know, hoop camp is a camp up in Casco, Maine. I think it's a great basketball camp for kids that are learning how to play or maybe interested in learning how to play. Shout out to James Philbrook and his family for running it. But I guess I wanted to talk about like hoop camp. To me, when I watch Troy down at hoop camp, it's almost like you're in your own element. Obviously, you don't have a lot of time when you're back home in Maine. In the summer, you're trying to spend it with family, but you always make time to come out to hoop camp. And what I'm always impressed with is one, even when you're there, you're still always working on your game and grinding, playing pickup, or if it's individually. But the other thing is like what's impressive to me is how you talk to kids, and you're almost like an ambassador for Maine basketball, because like most kids know you and always want to pick your brain. But do you see yourself like when it's all said and done, you see yourself coming back to Maine and coaching basketball?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if it will be exactly in Maine, but I will always have an influence when it comes to Maine basketball. Like not like a given influence, more so I want to give back influence, meaning like if I'm coaching somewhere in a different state or maybe even overseas, I will always try to give back when I'm back, or even if I'm not there, I'll figure out something to help. Yeah. But like that is my goal for sure. The plan is when I retire in, I don't know, fingers crossed, years from now, who knows? Mm-hmm. But I want to coach for sure. I've surrounded my life around basketball my entire life. I've learned so much, and I want to give that back. And I think Maine is a pretty big target for that. Only because, like you said, there's camps like hoop camp where there's kids that never even touched a basketball and they get thrown in a week session to learn or to have fun. Like number one is to have fun, but maybe we can teach them little things while they're having fun. And then 2 years down the road, they actually love the game and they work on it themselves. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing. So like, I'm very passionate about that. So when I'm done playing or when I'm home during the summer, I always want to give back and try to, at least have 10 kids, 50 kids learn one thing or something new, or change their mentality with it, or at least give them a direction of where they need to do or what they need to do for, to help them, love the game a little bit more, try to figure it out. So, yeah.
Well, you definitely have the makings of a good coach because obviously you're passionate and, you're like I said, you're like an ambassador for Maine basketball, but you're also, what I love about you is, there's no bullshit. Like you just give it straight to kids. And that's kind of like how me and Julio are. So I love that. That's, I think it's the best quality.
You get Absolutely. Like, it's way important. Like maybe I'll be overboard a little bit too much, certain things, but like being transparent is huge. Like, I think it's the number one thing that will influence kids is being transparent. If you're a robot and saying the same thing all the time and you have the same speeches and the same this, and you don't have passion into what you're trying to convey to these kids, or even your teammates or like your wife or girlfriend or whatever, if you're not transparent with things, people won't get you what you're trying to give off. You know what I mean? Whether it's a different or what you're trying to say. So I think like being transparent and actually just saying it is how it is. I think they can learn something from that, whether it makes them butt hurt or not. You'll definitely learn.
Hey, Troy, man, you always keep it real, man. Hey, before we get into our game here at the end, we like to do this thing called either or. But before we get to that, I just need you to give out one gem that you would give to a guy who wants to be a professional. Think about a senior in college. What's the one piece of advice you would give a guy who wants to be a pro?
The one thing I would do the one thing I would advise like a college player to do to be a pro is to turn everything you do daily into being professional with. So be a professional with everything you do. Be early to everything. Don't be on time because you're late already. For me, I am early to everything. I have practice at 6:00. I'm there at 5:30 at the least. I'm there at 5:15 early. Even if I'm just sitting there stretching or doing whatever, I'm early to everything and I'm getting my mind right, ready to go for a practice. film, I'll pay attention. You have to pay attention and try to learn. Don't think that you know everything, because you don't. I'm a 10-year professional athlete. Been playing basketball, been around basketball more than half my life. And I still have so much to learn. So if you study the game, listen to other people. If you have opportunities to listen to people or ask questions, I asked questions all the time when I came overseas. And what should I do? What should I do this? So like I learned quite a bit from that. You need the last thing I would say is you need to obviously put the time in. You need to be super self-aware of your own game. Like what I mean by that is, say you're a point guard. You have your handles are straight. You can get to the rim, but you think you can shoot, but realistically, you're not much of a shooter. Everyone's playing off of you for sure. At least give you the shot before the drive. So be real with yourself. Be like, all right, like ask people, like, what do I need to work on? Like being straight up with me. What do I need to work on? What do I need to change in my game to make myself better? So ask people those questions, ask coaches, ask whatever, and learn from that and work on those things. You know, in college, like I said before, about like 20 minutes ago, I was a post player. And the one thing my agent told me if I want to translate my game even more in the professional level is you need to be a guard. You need to be a wing player. So instead of being a 4 position or a pick and pop guy or a pick and roll guy, you're going to be on the wing, you know, maybe doing some ball screens, but coming off stagger screens and all this stuff and shooting, you know, open jump shots, catch and shoot jumpers. I needed to work on that. And I was dead honest, like asking these questions, like, what do I need to be good at? Corner threes. What do I need to do? Catch and shoot, one dribble pull-ups, all this stuff. You need to change your game in that way to be able to perform at the next level. So I was super honest with myself. I asked all these questions. I worked on all those little things. And then when I played pickup during the summer times and stuff, I still continue to try to work on those things, just at least mentally. So when I'm going into my seasons, at least know that I put my foot forward in those situations. So
Troy,
that's the advice I give.
Hey, Troy, you know, you could tell you're a prepared guy, man, because I asked for one fucking thing you gave me for.
You gotta remember, I told you, friends and family, like one of the cons is being one. I'm literally watching Netflix all day damn long. Fortnite. I got no one to talk to.
No, it's all good. It's all good, man. It's all good.
We love it.
We appreciate it, man, really. So let's wrap this up today, man. Again, like Maddie said, appreciate your time, man. We'll definitely do this again. We took this little segment from our college. They used to do this on our online website. It was called Either Or. Maddie, you're gonna give me a time, or are we just gonna flow?
I got you a time. Quick answers.
It's a quick. So you get 10 questions, and I'm gonna give you 2 choices without even thinking. You got to pick one. All right.
All right.
Really random. All right, Maddie, hit the time. Tell me when to go.
Right. Ready? Go.
All right. Beats or AirPods?
Beats.
Reese's or Snickers?
Reese's.
Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Dunkin'.
Snapbacks or dad hats?
Snapbacks.
Hey, it's fresh though. First Take or Undisputed?
First Take.
Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Twitter or Instagram?
Twitter.
Joel Embiid or the Joker?
The Joker.
Turkey or Lithuania?
Lithuania.
Lithuania. Gippers or the Goose?
Oh, do I have to?
Yeah, I think you do, man. I think you do for the Mainers.
I put Gippers. I had to throw that one in there, Troy. I had to throw that one in there.
Absolutely. Good time, man. Hopefully when you get back, Troy, we can catch up, man. We'll go up to Maine, kind of hang out, kick it, do some hoop stuff, man.
Yeah, I'll be home this summer at some point. Don't know exactly when. So obviously we'll figure it out. I hope the Noonan tournament can work out and you guys can get things at some point.
Hopefully. But stay safe and stay healthy out there.
All right, guys. I appreciate talking.
All right, Troy. Take care, brother.
But now it's different and I'm reminiscing. I got the feeling like I don't know, there's something missing. Yeah, so then I call you like I always do. You know the drill, just pick it up and tell the truth. And then you tell me that you love me, but it doesn't matter because you can never trust me. You tell me that you're happy, you find a new guy. Well, I guess it doesn't matter that she used to call me Ryan. That everywhere we used to go, we drive down Drift Road. The same road, but you said this never gets so. Everywhere we used to go, we drive down Drift Road. In the Lexus, we took the long way home. Everywhere we go, we used to drive down Drift Road. Everywhere we go, we used to drive down Drift Road.